Good morning. Wow, this theater is breathtaking. You talk about mystery, and this downtown has been one of great mystery, especially the last couple years. But who would have thought we would be sitting in a theater on Main? I'm just like blown away, especially like the light outside and the message that's being sent with it. I just got like worked up listening to Troy. Today is a hard day, especially on the topic of mystery. I woke up this morning and probably the same kind of funk a lot of you woke up in. Plus, it was raining. Thanks for that. Couldn't ask for that kind of drama. But mystery is not always bad. Mystery can mean a lot of things. It can be fear. It can be the unknown. It can be the undefined. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's scary. But what I want to do is, as a room, I know who wants to follow Jessica Manolo? Gosh. I don't ever want to follow Jessica ever again. When you hear the word mystery, what's the first word that comes to your mind? Just shout it out. Scooby-Doo. I needed that. What else? Fear, unknown, stories. What else? Loss. She didn't say lost, you knucklehead. So, Neil Armstrong, you guys know who this guy is? He walked on the moon. He actually said that mystery creates wonder, and wonder is the basis of our desire to understand. Think about that for a moment. The unknown, the undefined, the question mark, that is what pushes us. That's what makes us really want to dig into something. As Shahab mentioned, I was born in downtown Las Vegas. My family lives in the Huntridge neighborhood. I grew up in that neighborhood. I love my 60% Spanish-speaking neighbors. I am so used to having an elote guy. I don't ever want to live anywhere else. I found myself in an interesting position after college. I landed a job at Zappa's, and this was before Tony had a drink at Downtown Cocktail Room. And was working using my degree in the way that, I thought I best could, and out of nowhere, while working on the blogs team, we found out Tony is going to announce that Zappos is going to move its office downtown. I was like, wow, that's like nuts. Are you sure? I'm totally blown away. My mom wrote him a letter that day that he reminded me that he got that said, "I'm so excited to have my son home for lunch." I was like, that's a beautiful thing. But with that came a lot of mystery. And there was mystery for the community. There was mystery for the employees. And for me, there was this insane amount of mystery because I didn't know which team I was playing for. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to wear my downtown jersey or if I was supposed to wear my branded Zappos t-shirt. I didn't know really what team I was supposed to be playing on, but all that I knew was that I was up for an adventure, and that was really kind of what I signed up for when I decided to work for this crazy company in the first place. I'm going to skip ahead to this. I don't work for Zappos anymore. I'm not trying to soft sell anybody on anything here. But I dug into it. They said, who wants to get involved? Who wants to do things downtown? And I said, hey, I'm already doing things downtown. I would be happy to be on this adventure. And they said, okay, what do you want to work on? I said, music. I only care about music in the area. And I was, a part of the group of people like Hernan in the back who I see who was going to the 1 or 2 shows a month that were happening at Beauty Bar or the Griffin and Old Bunkhouse when the stage was in the other place and it sounded different and all that other stuff. But they said, okay, go do music then. And it was like, well, are you going to give us a budget or a plan? And they were like, no. Just go do music downtown. Pull together the people that you think matter and do it. And to me, talking about mystery, it's what the fuck are you trying to get us to do? What do you really want us to do? What is this, a game? And what I found out was that they felt like if they had master planned things and if they told people what they wanted them to do, that the people's minds and imaginations couldn't wander enough. It would be too constricted. So I instantly kind of snapped on to like James Woodbridge. And I don't know if you've been to UNLV and taken a philosophy class, you've probably been in one of his classes, but he helped start the Neon Reverb Festival. And to me was like, dude, you guys have been doing music downtown, facing the uphill climb. They try to book a couple national acts, but always kind of backfill it with all these local bands. And I said, let's fund Neon Reverb. Like, it's already in existence. We don't need to like wheel out stages. We need to get people into these venues that are already down here, but like really kind of having a tough time getting people to feel safe, getting people to be okay paying for parking, getting people to realize that this is actually where, like, the downtown hub is where everybody is going, the core is where people are going to naturally gravitate to someday. So we did, and I'm happy to say, you know, Neon Reverb is getting ready to have its 12th Neon Reverb in March. They are still getting some funding from Zappos. I've been gone from Zappos now for 3 years. That's still in existence, and it was all from a mystery. All from a, just go out and find a thing and snap onto it. In that process, too, I met Rayhan. And you guys, Rayhan has spoken at a Creative Mornings before. He started the Life is Beautiful festival. As part of my job at Zappos, they were like, hey, you can split up your time and work on downtown stuff with any amount of your time that you want to, as long as you're still getting your job done. And so I was like, great, Rayhan, I'll help you for free. And so I did all the social media for Life is Beautiful for the first 3 years of it. And it was like, great, I have access to like a festival that's happening in downtown Las Vegas. It's not exactly what I want. I don't exactly think the Killers are the best band in the world. But I'm cool like supporting, you know, this thing. Who would have thought that it would happen? An interesting thing happened in the course of this story where I got wind that Tony was going to purchase First Friday. And man, I remember calling my mom and being like, how, they can't do that. You can't buy an art scene. Like, you can't just like come in and put a stack of cash on the money on the table and be like, we own art. Like, it doesn't work that way, not in a community. And I remember just being so like pissed and sad, and then like, well, maybe it'll be cool. Like, maybe they'll like put money into the art, and maybe like it's not like that. And Tony and Joey Vanas and all of those guys basically came to me and said, like, here's what the plan is. What we want to do is we want to actually like put money into the event to make it sustainable and do all these things. Will you go and pull all of like the local artists and gallery owners together to kind of announce this plan? And I was like, wait, I was just crying about this a minute ago, and now you want me to go out on a stage and leverage like being from here to say, hey guys, it's okay, don't worry. He's not just putting a stack of money on the table. It's like everything's gonna be okay. And I wasn't comfortable with it. I was super worried and scared about it. And I basically said, I'll introduce you. And so I got up there and gave this like little spiel of like, hey, I go here. I don't know what's gonna happen either, but here's Joey. And I like tap danced off the stage. You know, during that time, you know, we heard a lot at the company about, you know, you can go and start a business. Every all hands for 4 years was a speaker telling you that at some point your number's going to get called and you should jump into that adventure. They're basically begging you to leave the company and go and do something. I was hanging out at Makers and Finders, coming off of last year's Life is Beautiful festival, kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. Knew that I wasn't happy, kind of in this cyclical, you know, work on Zappos for 10 months, work on a festival for 2, and I just wasn't really digging how it was going. And one of my old colleagues from Zappos came up and sat at the bar. Serendipity, right? How many times here can anybody recall going into one of these coffee shops or going into Vegination or going into a bar downtown and somebody walking up to you that you know and you having a, holy shit, that was meant to happen moment? Raise your hand if you've had a moment like that in this downtown in the last, you know, few years. Almost everybody in this room has. I ran into Chris Coy, and he's a great artist in the area, does a lot of stuff in LA. We had a lot of philosophical conversations at Zappos about kind of where it was going. And always kind of felt the same way, like there's a lot of mystery here. But like maybe we can set ourselves on a path of kind of true fulfillment and also kind of bring up all the people around us. He said, I found this space right next door. I got into it for $1 a square foot. That's an anomaly. I hope Troy didn't hear that. He probably close. So it's $1 a square foot right next door. It's a Main Street address. Used to be it was a machine shop and then a hip hop dance studio. And I was like, what are you going to do with it? And he's like, we're going to build apps. It's like, you're going to start an app store on Main Street? You can't just like walk into a store. I'd like to buy 4 apps, please. Like a literal app store. And he said, no, here's the thing. We want to call it teamwork. We want it to be a place where people can come and they can develop, they can design. We have this extra space in the backyard. We don't know what we want it to be. We want as much of it to be undefined as possible. It's basically a space of mystery. Like the walls will be white, the floors will be blank, the tables will be white, and everything else like people will figure out. But we don't want this to be a paint by number. We want people to be able to come into it and figure out what we're going to become. I left that day and went directly to my boss and put in my notice. Who does that? Who leaves safety and security and insurance and a regular paycheck? Fuck, insurance, guys. Jeez. Insurance, damn it. Today is hard. And snapped into this space, and it was like, okay, I'm going to kind of do my own thing in it. I'm going to feel out my relationships. I'm going to keep doing some social marketing for people, see how we work together. What ended up happening was 3 months later, kind of grafted my services into his and his team's services. We went from being a co-working space to basically being a digital agency that does design, development, marketing, product marketing. We just celebrated a year in business. We have 25 clients. We have 13 employees. We had a bike co-op in our backyard called Crank and Grind. You could roll a bike in there and they would repair it and you could name your own price. Who opens an app store with a bike shop? And the thing was I read this quote while I was thinking about this speech, and it was that mystery is the #1 conjurer of ideas. Chris had a vision with this space of it just being enough for people to conjure, enough for people to think, enough for people to kvetch, enough for people to pace. And I see people in this space all the time, sometimes on calls, sometimes on not, just going. And I know that they're sitting there going, there's art that could go up in here, #1. There's an idea we haven't tapped into. There's people we haven't worked with. There's relationships that haven't been made. And there's also art that's happened, relationships that have been made, and stuff that's been done. But having a blank slate, and I don't like referring to a downtown as a blank slate. I thought that, to me, that was like the worst thing that ever could have been said about this area, especially to the people that had been in it for a long time. But thinking of your own space or your own business or the own bubble that you occupy as a blank slate is a beautiful thing because it allows you to make art. How many artists start with a canvas that is already painted on? Unless you are at Reclaimed, RIP. You don't. You think about, you start with blank, you start with nothing, you start with mystery, you start with wonder. I really feel deep down in my heart that jumping, that kind of leaning into that unknown, leaning into the fear, was the most life-giving experience that I've ever had in my life. And while today is one of great fear and mystery for a lot of us, there's no better time than now to lean into that fear and mystery. And Albert Einstein, you guys know who he is? He invented Apple. He is he said, the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. And I can't agree with that more. Have you ever been like taken by the hand by a friend into a music show or an art show and walked out of there feeling like you had the most enlightening experience of your life, but you wouldn't have had it otherwise? I feel like I get this on the weekly in this area. We're surrounded by it. We're surrounded by wonderful people. Everyone in this room that I have ever spoken to is on like a pathway of big astronomical things, and they are pulling all of these people into that orbit with them. And I really think that another quote that I read in the process of this was that the mystery of life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. So think about that as we leave today, as we comfort people that need it today, as we think about our businesses, as we think about ourselves, that, mystery is not a problem. It's actually just an experience waiting for you to seize it. And mystery's hard. So if anybody here is ever dealing with that in some kind of way and you need the comfort of an ear or a hug or a place to work or a person to have a coffee with, I would love to be that person for you. I know that, mental health is expensive, especially in this current world, and it doesn't have to be. We're all in this together. We're neighbors. We're family. I love you guys very much, and I hope that you have a really nice creative morning.
That was amazing. One more round of applause for Graham. Normally we give out Twitter handles and things of that nature. Just go see the guy. Teamwork is right across the street.